Hello, I'm John Pérez, Speaker of the California State Assembly, and I'm here to tell you that it gets better. This week, families all across California and the country will come together to celebrate Thanksgiving and the start of the holiday season. For many, this is a joyous time to be with loved ones and to celebrate everything we have to be grateful for. But for others, the holiday can be a difficult time, especially for young gay kids. We live in a world that often seems hostile to gay people and tells us we should be ashamed of who we are. And that makes us feel alone, even when we're surrounded by our family and friends. But it gets better. Thanksgiving is a special holiday for me because that's when I decided to come out to my family. I was in college and coming home for the Thanksgiving break. I had known for a while that I was gay, but growing up in a very traditional community on the east side of LA meant that coming out would make my life very difficult and possibly dangerous. I had thought about coming out, but never acted on it. That all changed when I went to college. You see, the reason was simple. I fell in love with another student. And so I came out to him and to my fellow students. But coming out in a relatively safe environment like a college campus was a far different prospect than coming out to my family and friends back home. As I grew more secure, more confident, and more at peace about coming out, I decided that it was time to tell my parents. Since I would be heading home for Thanksgiving break, it seemed like the perfect time. I can still vividly recall how anxious I was driving home that day. My stomach was churning and my heart was pounding in my chest the whole way down. Until you reach that moment, you could never tell how people are going to react. And as a result, we often focus too much on the negative consequences of coming out. But the fact is, I love my parents, and they deserve to know the entirety of who their son was. I resolved to tell them as soon as I got home. But when I walked through the door, I blinked. I was too nervous to do it, so I kept pushing the time back. I decided finally that I'd tell them right before Thanksgiving dinner. I was so worried that they would not take it well that I'd already packed my bags just in case I had to leave early. But dinner came and dinner went, and I didn't tell them. Finally, Sunday rolled around, and I had to get back to school, so I worked up the courage to sit them down. Now, I knew I had to tell my parents together, because if I had told my mother first, she would tell me not to tell my father. I couldn't do that. If I had, I would have made my problem my mother's problem, and that wouldn't be fair to her, my dad, or to me. So I sat them down together, looking them both in the eyes. The first words out of my mouth were, "I'm sorry." I must have said that 50 times. Then finally I told them the two words that would have such enormous implications. "I'm gay." My dad looked at me and said, "What do you have to be sorry about?" I felt a wave of relief rushing over me until I realized that he didn't actually hear what I had said because he was suffering from a head cold. I repeated that I was gay. My mom cried a little, and for only the second time in my life, I saw my dad's eyes well up with tears. At that point, I was emotionally exhausted and needed to leave. I said goodbye to my parents, wondering when I would see them again and how that would go. After all, Christmas was just a month away. As you can imagine, the drive back to school was difficult. My head was swimming, imagining the conversation my parents must have been having. When I got home, there were two messages on my answering machine. One was from my dad, and the other was from my mom. And both messages said the same thing. They said, "You are our son. We love you, and we only want you to be happy. We've always been proud of you and will always be proud of you." When I told my parents, they showed me that love was much more powerful than fear. And in that moment, I became closer to them than I ever thought was possible. To this day, I'm deeply moved thinking about how well my parents reacted and how close we were. And I kept that with me until they both passed. I know I was lucky to have such wonderful parents who were so loving and understanding. They showed me that I could be free to love and be loved by whomever I chose. Not all of us are that lucky. Some of us make the brave and difficult choice to come out and have our worst fears realized. And that's a tragedy. But even if that's the case, I can tell you with absolute certainty that it gets better. There's an entire world out there waiting to love you and to show you that you are a beautiful, wonderful, and special person, that you deserve to be happy and that you can be happy, that you're not alone, and that whatever feelings of loneliness or isolation you may have, they'll fade away with time and be replaced by feelings of strength and pride. As we celebrate the holidays, we reflect on the things that we have to be grateful for. And I'm grateful that I made the decision to live my life fully, openly, with pride as a gay man. And I'm grateful for the people in my life who gave me the strength to come out. And I'm grateful for the hundreds of thousands of special kids out there, maybe like you, who will one day find peace and love and respect in this world. And I'm grateful for the simple fact that it absolutely gets better. From the moment you free yourselves from the closet, it gets better. From the moment you embrace who you are, it gets better. From the moment you step out into the world and find the people who will love you and accept you for who you are, it gets better. When I was a teenager, I never thought I'd be able to live a successful and happy life as an openly gay man. And now I have the privilege of serving in one of the top positions in California government. It got better for me, and I know with absolute certainty that it'll get better for you too. I hope you have a safe and happy and wonderful holiday season. Thank you, and remember, it gets better.